California snow warning. Earliest winter storm in 20 years. While cold weather has descended in the mountain areas of Northern California. But here in Palm Springs, Coachella Valley, well, our temperatures have also dropped, but they've gone from hot to comfortable. People are getting out their golf clubs and their tennis rackets and looking forward to a great fall season. Next week is the beginning of autumn. And when I lived in Tulsa, the beginning of autumn meant raking up leaves in our yard. There was one time in particular where a situation arose where we were raking up leaves and it required me to use a valuable communication skill, which I want to share with you today. And that brings me to the subject of today's nugget, reframing. And I'll be right back with our coaching segment.
We're going to look at the 6 personal perspectives. These are the things that differentiate those who achieve at a really high level compared to those who don't. And I'm really excited. I promise to make it a lot of fun. And we're going to talk about mindset. We're going to talk about your calendar and how you can learn to love your calendar. So I'm really excited to see you there.
The art of reframing. The term reframing comes from psychotherapy, and it simply means seeing something in a different way or a new context. It's based upon the understanding that we do not see a situation or a product as it is, but rather we see how it is perceived. Therefore, many times success in communication or negotiations is based upon our ability to create or to change perception. Which brings me to my story. It was a cool fall Saturday morning in Tulsa, and my teenage daughter Sandy was assisting me in the front yard, and we were raking and bagging leaves. A car with boys in it drove up and stopped, and then one of them motioned to her to come over. And after several minutes, Sandy came back and asked me if she could go out with one of them that night. I knew nothing about the boy, and quite frankly, I was unimpressed that he had not even gotten out of his vehicle to come over and introduce himself to me. Therefore, I suggested that instead of going out on a date that night, that she invite him to dinner with the family the following week. See, I was thinking that way we could get acquainted with him and evaluate him. Oh, but my response upset Sandy. Her face turned red, and she blurted out and said, "What's wrong, Dad? Don't you trust me?" Recognizing she was feeling very negative, I realized that I needed to quickly change her perception of the situation. Therefore, I activated my reframing mindset. And I calmly replied, "Honey, if I had $1 million in a briefcase, and some stranger drove up and said he wanted to borrow the case with the money, would I let him take it?" She replied, "Of course not. That would be foolish." I said, "Then you can understand my response. It is not a matter of not trusting you. I want to protect you. Because to me, you and your reputation are more valuable than $1 million in a briefcase." Immediately, I could see her countenance change, and she became teary-eyed, and she reached out and hugged me and said, "Thank you, Dad, for caring for me so much." Sometime later, a different young man appeared, and he introduced himself to me and the family. He got off to a good start. His name was Tim Redmond, and months later, Sandy and he were married and recently celebrated their 35th anniversary. Oh, and by the way, Sandy is now a successful marriage enrichment coach. Noted author and spiritual leader Marianne Williamson says, "The key to transforming anything lies in your ability to reframe it." See, as illustrated by my story, if you can reframe how someone perceives an event or an issue, you can probably change how they feel and how they're going to react. So as a leader, the ability to reframe should be an essential tool in your verbal arsenal. God bless you. Go with increase.